In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the ways that dates are used and represented in Excel. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to type in today's date here. And a couple of things that you should notice about this. First of all, I only typed in the 13, but it changed it into 2013 for me. The default way for representing years in Excel is to represent them as 4-digit years rather than 2-digit. You do have the option of going in and changing the formatting, but by default you get 4 digits. It never used to be this way, but if you remember the year 2000 problem, that was caused by having 2 digits represent the year and always putting 19 in front of it. Well, as the year 2000 approached, we realized that we're going to have to put the number 20 in front of some dates and 19 in front of other dates. And so Microsoft changed the default probably sometime in the late 1990s so that whenever you entered a date, you automatically got a 4-digit year. So, and it's probably best to just leave it that way. That way there's no ambiguity about what the date represents. There's also the other thing you should note is that the date is right aligned, and that should tell you something about dates in Excel. It tells you that they are represented as numbers. Another way to represent a date or to enter a date is use hyphens, and the hyphens don't stay, but it does interpret it as a date. And in the United States, it expects us to enter the month and then the day and then the year in that order. So two ways to enter the date. They both get represented the same way, and somehow Excel is representing them as numbers internally. Okay, now we're going to take a look at something here. We're going to change these numbers, the way they're formatted. I'm going to the Home tab here, and in the number group, by default they're represented as a short date. You can also do a long date, but I don't know how often you actually need that. But I'm going to change the formatting. I'm going to change it to general. And when I do, I get the number 41,485, okay, which appears to have no relationship at all to the current date. Now, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to enter, let's do it down here. I'm going to enter yesterday's date, which would have been 7/29/13, and hit enter. And again, it goes back to formatting as a date because it recognized that as what I was typing in. But I'm going to change that to general. And you'll see that is one less than today. And if I typed in the previous date, it would be 41,483 and so on. So what Excel is doing is it's counting the days. And since it started counting, we're on day number 41,485. So an obvious question to ask here is, what was day number 1? Well, an easy way to find that out is to type in a 1 and then go back here and format as a date. And what you'll see is that January 1st, 1900 was day number 1. If I type in a 2 here, and actually we'll do a couple of them, we'll use the autofill feature here, and let's do about 20 days. And if I format all of those as short dates, you'll see it's just counting the first 20 days of January in the year 1900. So positive numbers are used to represent the dates starting on January 1st, 1900. Now, another obvious question, it seems, is what happens if you type in some negative numbers, okay? Like 0 and -1, and I'll select both of those and do an autofill to go down here, and I want to format those as dates. Okay. Well, this is interesting. This is January 0, 1900, which obviously is not a date, and I get pound signs for everything else. So that usually means that your column is not wide enough. So let's make our column a little bit wider. And it turns out that no matter how wide you make your column, it's always going to show with pound signs because there is no legitimate date that corresponds to any negative number. Now there's actually no legitimate date that corresponds to this. I think the reason that this is actually viable in Excel is to make it easier to do arithmetic with times, which we'll look at in another video. So it is not possible to represent any days using serial numbers before January 1st, 1900. Now what I can do is I can still type in those dates. The day before that would have been 12/31, 1899. Okay, but look what happens when I type that in. Excel lets me type it in, no problem, but look, it's left aligned. And what that tells you is that it's text. There is no, if I go try to format that as general, you know, text is text. You don't have any choices. I can pick a whole bunch of options here, and as long as it's text, it's just going to look the same way. So I can enter the dates. The difference is they're not represented the same way as dates from January 1st, 1900 forward, which basically means you can't do date arithmetic on them. The reason for representing dates as serial numbers, these numbers, by the way, that are behind the dates, these numbers in the general format here, are called date serial numbers. And a date serial number is just a number that represents a date. And there's a good reason for representing dates that way, and that is to do date arithmetic. So today is 7/30/2013, and Christmas is 12/25/13. Those are both dates. You can tell they got right aligned. And I want to know how many days it is till Christmas. So I can just put in a little formula here that says take the Christmas date and minus today's date, and it tells me there are 148 days left until Christmas. Okay. Now sometimes when you're doing things like this with dates, Excel tries to get smart and format something for you, and it'll format it the wrong way. Sometimes when you do these things, at least in earlier versions of Excel, it would try to format that as a date because it says, well, you're working with dates up here, maybe that's supposed to be formatted as a date as well. If that happens, you just need to know that it's taking the serial number and trying to represent it as a date, and if you just want that number, the serial number, the difference between the dates, just go back up here and format it using general. Okay. Now let's go back over here and do one more thing with dates. I'm going to go back and format this as a short date, and I'm going to get my fill handle, and I'm going to do something a little different this time. I'm going to right click on the right button on the mouse and click and drag. Now the fill handle goes away and you get your little arrow, which is red on my computer, and when you drag, it doesn't automatically fill stuff in, but you get some choices here, and we're interested in these 4 choices right here. If I choose fill days, it gives me the next 19 days. I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to right click and drag again, and this time I'm going to say fill weekdays, and today is a Tuesday, so here's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are missing, and again Saturday and Sunday the following week, and so on. It just lists work days for me, or weekdays. And if I go to the lower right hand corner here and click and drag again, and I choose fill months, I will get the 30th of every month until I get to a month that doesn't have 30 days in it. Then it's going to put in the last day of that month. So let's undo that, and let's try one more example. Click and drag, and if I do fill years, I will get the 30th of every year from now until the year 2032. So Excel makes it easy for you to fill in sequences of dates. Just go get your fill handle, and instead of left clicking when you drag, right click when you drag. Now there are a number of built-in functions that make it easier to do things with dates, and we'll take a look at those in the next video.